Hi there, welcome to How to Get More Out of Your Breakup Than Just Heartache, a program that helps you embrace this part of your life. What part of your life? Well, this kind of sucky part of your life, right? Because divorce isn't any fun. And we all know that. And, divorce takes a toll on your finances, takes a toll on your emotions, on your family, your career, your health, in general, on your life, right? I'm Tommy Toole, and I've been right where you are. And it's my goal today to help you get the most out of your breakup and help you regain some of that inner peace you've lost from transitioning your life from a couple to a single person. So just to be clear, this is a workshop for people who have recently gone through a divorce or a breakup from a long-term relationship. So here's what we'll discuss today. We'll talk about the number one thing you'll learn after your divorce, which is kind of fun, the hardest part about getting divorced, and what divorced people know that married people don't, but should. Sound fun? It's a lot of good juicy stuff, maybe too much. So maybe on second thought, we'll strike that. And, because you really don't care to learn anything new, you really just want validation. You want perspective. You want your family back intact. You want that inner peace back that you've lost. And I can say this because when I went through my divorce, I couldn't even read a paragraph, let alone learn something new. And so my attention span was really short. And it takes a lot of energy to be pretty self-absorbed like I was because, let's face it, it's all about your problems right now. And I'm kind of just joking around with you about that, but it's a true thing. So frankly, I'm just super impressed that you made it here today. So thanks for showing up, because when you show up live and you do it, you're committed to making the change. So I appreciate that, and thank you for being here. But let's face facts. You are a new enrollee to the School of Hard Knocks, and this will require a little of your attention. So let's start with what you're all dying to talk about. Let's talk about you. That's what I aim to do. Oh, but first, here's my what this class isn't spiel. So this isn't a class about the legal mumbo jumbo. That's beyond my expertise. And it's not about the hoops you go through to get a divorce. None of that. This isn't that kind of class, and if that's what you're looking for, this is not the class for you. So this is a class about self-discovery, growth, and moving on after a divorce. So you're right in the right place if you are tired of feeling stuck and frustrated because you're not just going to move on today. We're going to get you launched. You have to look at your new situation this way. You've been given a second chance, a do-over. So many of you are unprepared for what lies ahead. After all, you didn't expect to wind up here, where you have that part of your life where you have shattered dreams, you're disillusioned, you're overwhelmed and alone. Although you can never be completely prepared for the future, this workshop will prepare you with insight as you re-enter the single life again. So after all that, the best revenge is to live well. And by the time we're done, your ex is going to be asking themselves, why did I ever leave? I'll say it again. The best revenge is to what? Live well. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do. I know at times divorce is riddled with gut-wrenching guilt, lost dreams, remorse, self-doubt, broken hearts, anxiety, and that feeling of overall being overwhelmed. I know that you will survive, and life does get better. It really, really will. And I can't just stress that enough. So the best revenge is to live well by doing. All right. So because I know that you're pretty strapped with, the whole lost economies of scale, you're down from 2 incomes to 1, and they say that drop in wealth is about 75%. I have a special bonus for you. So if you stick with me to the end of this workshop, I've got something really good and some really good bonuses for you. So you're in for a treat, so stick around. All right, and so let's begin. Now that I got all that out of the way, right? So over the years, many people have asked me one question, and it's always the same no matter what. It's kind of the most common question I hear after about a few months after the breakup, and you've probably asked it yourself. And the number one question I get asked the most is, actually, you know what? I'm going to take this up for a vote. I'm going to let you chime in and see if you have any thoughts on what you think that question might be. So what's the one question that you ask yourself when you've hit that breaking point. All right, I'm going to do. Oh, here's one. Oh, very funny, Dan from Seattle. Where's the booze? Okay, no, that's not it. All right, so I've got some silly responses. So I'm just going to give it to you. How do you get through this, and when will it end? That's the common, most often question I get, and I think we've all wondered it. And while I'd love to say it will all end Tuesday night at the stroke of 9 on the next full moon's rising, I can't. No one but you can answer that question, the when question. But what I can do is help you answer the how question. How do I get through this? So, hope and inspiration are your new best friends. All right? And when we go through this, divorce kind of benchmarks future life challenges, and we say things like this to ourselves. Well, hell, if I can get through this, I can get through just about anything. It does that for you. Divorce does. So, but it also makes you realize eventually that there is always a brighter tomorrow, and life does go on. And it really does get better. So, I didn't always feel that way, and maybe you don't feel that way right now either. And I know I'm sounding very optimistic and very happy camper, cheery, a little too happy for you right now, but I can do that because I'm just totally convinced that you'll get there. And I used to think that there were two classes of people, the thems and the us's. And so let me explain to you what that is. When I was married, I used to think that single people were the thems and the married people were the us's, people like me. And I used to wonder, I didn't understand why people who had marital problems just couldn't work out their problems together. And but after I went through the detox phase of being separated with my own divorce, I did a great deal of self-reflecting on my failed marriage. And it was then that I came to the conclusion that I didn't know it all. Like that 17-year-old kid who knows everything. That's kind of how I was. I was finding out that people who got divorced were no different from me. And I learned later to embrace my newfound marital status. And I changed my view of divorcees. I found that there is an immediate bond shared by people who have been divorced. They are able to recognize what stage you are in recovery quicker than others. They know your pain. So now you're probably saying, yeah, well, this is all great stuff and everything, Tommy, but what does this have to do with how do I get through this? You haven't answered that question yet for me. Well, before I lose you, this is my point. People who have been through it, to hell and back, know that divorce is something you survive. They have an acute homing device that says, there's one in trouble now. Suddenly, the people who I thought needed to learn the most about relating were now my superhero mentors. I'm serious. They were like, the captain in the cape, and man, I'll tell you what, I had never had a change of. I was glad to be wrong, first of all, about how I viewed the divorced people population, and shame on me for being so narrow-minded. But find yourself a superhero mentor in divorce. Let them help you. They will give you the greatest advice and clarity. It's amazing. I'm talking about people who have been divorced. So once you've opened up to someone who's been divorced, you will be surprised at the wisdom they possess. I remember thinking, wow, this is heavy stuff, and people, they go through this weight, this life with this weight on their backs every day, this weight of divorce, and I had no idea, and now it's me. Now I'm doing that. Find several mentors. You're going to need all of them, or simply stick with this person here, me, a postgraduate from the Divorce School of Hard Knocks. Yes, several years ago, I wrote a book on divorce recovery called 101 Things I Learned After My Divorce. And it became an Amazon bestseller. I was pretty happy about it, and I helped a lot of folks for a while. But then I stopped promoting it because I wanted to change the subject. I wanted to write novels on romance. So I switched gears and started writing novels, none of which got published, but I learned a lot in the process, and someday I plan to get back to novel writing. And when I didn't get anything published, then I switched to writing movie scripts. And when nothing got optioned on that end, I kept hearing this voice inside of me say, you still have more to tell, and get your message across to this population of people going through divorce. So get back to that. And I kept hearing that for years and years, ignoring the voice. And so here I am, fast forward 9 years later, back at the divorce thing, blogging on the Huffington Divorce blog, podcasting, and crafting courses on how to learn from this time in your life so that you can enrich your life forever later. So, and I love it. I really do. And I just have so much to do with it. I just don't have a whole lot of time to do it in. So, I rush through everything all the time. I feel like I'm going at 100 miles per hour. So, but it's very rewarding for me. And I'm hoping I can help you get through this struggle. So, okay, here was my divorce story, because I think it's important for you to kind of know a little bit more about me. And I'm totally over this. It's been so many years ago, but it's important for you to know a little bit about my background so that you can see where I'm coming from on this and how I can help. So my divorce was, not anything unique. I think everybody has their own unique divorce story, but divorce itself is pretty universal, right? So we all kind of go through the same process. So my divorce was not something very outlandish. It wasn't, there were no mafia or CIA spies, nothing exciting like that. But I had 2 kids, a mortgage. I just finished a master's degree in accounting. That was my background. And I was working full-time, attending an academy at work for a tax auditing class to become a tax auditor, and then I was also attending the Becker CPA review course at night. So it was a crazy busy time for me and my ex-husband, and or who was my husband at that time. So we'd been married 7 years, and then all of a sudden he got that 7-year itch and started to he acted funny, and you're kind of going, well, funny how, you ask? Well, anyone who's ever been cheated on knows the answer to that question. So humor me and allow me to just elaborate briefly. I'm not too sure how much of this I want to share because it's kind of can be a long-winded story, but in a nutshell, this was a woman that he met at work, and the 3 of us actually worked for the same state agency. So it was in my face. It was there every day. I couldn't escape it. And before I found out about it, though, he started acting funny by just picking random fights with me, leaving the house in a huff, getting off the phone when I came in from the house, from being gone, and getting off the phone real quick, and I'd hear him say things like, "I've got to go, she's home." I just hated coming home. It was like one of those things that made me sick to my stomach because I knew something was wrong. So anyway, it was in my face at work, and it just was not fun. It was just a very bad time in my life, very low time in my life. So eventually the 2 of them quit, and then their karma kind of took over, and their marriage ended. Yes, they got married 3 weeks after our divorce was final. So it got ugly before it ever got better. And they started having problems, and this other woman, she kind of harassed me a little bit and came to my house and kind of sat outside in front of my house, rang my doorbell many times, and I was a little bit fearful, I'll admit it. I just didn't know how unpredictable she was, and after getting phone calls of hang-ups every day at work, and my car keyed, and just crazy stuff like that. It kind of knocks you off your game a little bit. So, but anyway, it ended after about 5 years, and before I ever knew about the other woman, though, my daughter described what I was feeling the best, because it was a struggle, and I kept trying to fight for my marriage, and she didn't even know what she was describing, but she had this dream, and she woke up, and she was 3 years old, and she woke up from her dream one morning to tell me, "Mommy, I had this dream. We were trying to move rainbows in my dream." Oh my gosh, it was such a vivid image of the struggle that I was going through that it totally described the situation perfectly. So trying to move rainbows is like trying to make it work sometimes is like trying to move rainbows. Rainbows are weightless, and yet you can't move them. When you're standing in the middle of one, you don't even know it. You kind of see the similarity. I don't know, maybe you can't see that. Maybe you were married to the brick wall, okay, and you couldn't move that either. So my point being that sometimes we try to do the impossible and try to make it work, and sometimes it's like trying to move a rainbow. Not going to happen. Another analogy is like paddling your heart upstream to find our situation is hopeless. I love this cartoon. It's like this guy is tossed in the oars, and I don't know, maybe you know this guy. All right, so because of the title of my book, 101 Things I Learned After My Divorce, I'm asked this question wherever I go. So, what's the number one thing, Tommy? What's the number one thing I'm supposed to learn after my divorce? And I don't know, maybe sometimes I get that so much because people want to see if they either can figure it out or if they can, dismiss it, dispel it. I don't know. But no one's ever really got it right. So, and it's pretty obvious. And when I tell you what it is, you'll probably be disappointed too, because it's sort of a Dr. Phil-ish antidote thing here. So I'm going to let everybody chime in and see if anybody can take a guess. So what's the number one thing you'll learn after your divorce? Okay. All right. Here they start coming in. All right. I see one from Patty. Patty says that I'll never ever get married again. That's a good one. Yeah, a lot of people like to say that's a good one. I've heard that a few times. So, no, the number one thing you'll learn after your divorce is very simple, and it's this. Are you ready? Drum roll, please. There's always more to learn. Bada bing, boom, pa. All right, sorry, I told you it'd be kind of disappointing. It's not that profound now that you know the answer, but it's pretty obvious, don't you think? Okay, moving on. I'd like to share with you something that I heard at the very beginning of my divorce, which is incidentally the intro to my book. A good friend of mine who happened to be divorced himself told me this. He said, everyone should experience a divorce once. And I looked at him and I'm like, you're absolutely nuts. I said, you're kidding, right? He insisted I hear him out. He told me, you may think it's absurd now, but you will see what I mean. You will learn things about yourself and about others. You will relearn things you thought you already knew, and your perspective will change. I can't say that word. I'll say it again. You will learn things about yourself and about others. You will relearn things you thought you already knew, and your perspective will change. I know what you're thinking. Okay, that's pretty funny. I'll remember that. But as the years passed, I remembered his words verbatim and how true they were. And this is a webinar about what you will learn after experiencing a divorce. You will realize that divorce is about survival, and when it's over, you will be a different person. It will bring you deeper connections with life and people that you never experienced before, and you'll journey to the ends of your comfort zone and realize that stretching your limits will be life-altering. You have to look at it this way. You've been given a second chance, a do-over, and so now you have to make the most of that. And a lot of people are unprepared for that. They don't really know how. They don't know where to start. And this is such a pivotal time in your life. And so, get help. And I'm here to help you. So hopefully I can. So we are all here because we seek knowledge and perspective. And whether you're married, looking for a change, a way to change some things, or whether you're newly divorced and looking for a way back to normalcy because your new normal isn't so normal, I can only assume that we are all here because we seek something, and that's knowledge and perspective. So now we are going to talk about one of my favorite parts, and this is the hardest part about getting divorced. And it's my favorite because we're all such knuckleheads and we don't want to admit some of this stuff to ourselves. I'm like the worst offender of this. And so, so the hardest part about getting divorced, we're going to talk about sometimes you have to start with changing your outlook. And sometimes finding the happiness within yourself can come from being without. And I'll explain that more in just a minute. So the hardest part about getting divorced is, I could get some guesses here, but I'm going to keep moving because I got a lot to cover here. So here's what it is. Accepting your part in it, how you contributed to it. Don't you just feel like I keep beating you over the head with a 2x4? I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep doing that, but this is how this kind of stuff rolls out. How we contributed to our marriage's end is not funny, but is one of the first steps we absolutely need to go through before we can truly have another healthy relationship. And, you know, I'll tell you how I learned that here in just a second, because it's pretty funny, and how you'll learn it too. So my goal for this section is to help you see how you might have contributed to your own divorce. And usually that happens in like your next relationship, but I'll get to that in just a second. So first, I want to show you that admitting your part in the divorce is never easy. In fact, some people never do. And this is definitely the hardest and longest lesson, because sometimes you don't know it until your next relationship and your patterns start to repeat. You'll find your new lover say things to you like, well, no wonder you got divorced. Look at how you, and then fill in the blank. Talk to me, act, treat me. You know, in my case, it was, resent me, taking it out on me, talk to me. So, yeah, nerves will be touched. But the important thing is lessons will be learned if you keep an open mind. You just have to shut up and listen to what your partner is telling you, and you might hear something repeated. And it's constructive criticism. It's meant with love, and take it and learn from it. So, been there, done that. Ask my husband, Todd. Yeah, I'm remarried. I've been remarried for 13 years now, and Todd is a very patient man. So my divorce happened because, and that's the question you need to be able to answer with clarity, and if you can do that, then you'll be 50% ahead of the game. So because of the solid reasons in your mind, you can look inward and see where you contributed to your own divorce. And yes, it takes two to have a divorce, but they are gone. And this is about you, not them. They are gone now. Our focus is on you and how to avoid your next divorce. And so you're not going to avoid it this way either. You're not going to be able to say, well, I'm never getting married ever again, so that's not going to happen. I mean, that's one way to avoid your next divorce, but sometimes finding the happiness within can come from being without. So we have to start by changing our outlook. And I'll show you what I mean. When we lose our ability to counter our frustrations with loving thoughts and we fail to find the humor in the situation, we develop a negative vision. All right, if left unchecked, that negativity can color our relationship and land us a divorce. I love this cartoon. It's one of my favorites. It says, I'm having my wedding ring melted down into a bullet. That's that funny. It reminds me of a joke. Marriage is a 3-ring circus. An engagement ring, a wedding ring, and a suffer ring. And I have another one. When you remarried, it's a, same drill, different circus. Or same clown, different clowns, same circus. Okay, so just remember, the problems are kind of we all have about 10 issues that we're never ever going to resolve, no matter who you're married to. So just keep that in mind. So when we search to find the love behind the little nuisances, we continue to promote loving acts. Let me show you what I mean. But I guess I want to show you first, I want to introduce to you my wonderful husband, Todd Toole, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing Todd Toole. Okay, so this is Todd and Tommy Toole when we got married a long time ago. So, add a few wrinkles later, a little extra pounds, and there you go. That's me today. So never let anyone tell you you're never going to find your soulmate just sitting around the house, because Todd was my claims adjuster and he came to my door. So just like that, it was love at first sight, and we dated for quite a while. Todd was a smart man and waited 4 years before popping the question. But I remember one winter day he was sitting in my ex's lazy boy watching a football game because I got the house and everything in it pretty much. So just like that, he was sitting in my ex's chair just like he used to do, and I was doing laundry just like I always did, and I remember feeling resentful like I always used to do. And I was resentful because I had to go to work the next day, and I had already done grocery shopping. I'd got the house cleaned. Everything was ready for the next day. And Todd was just sitting there, minding his own business, watching football. And, he was a single guy, self-employed, no kids, and had the life of Riley as far as I was concerned. But I remember the wave of resentment that came over me, and then I stopped. I caught myself projecting the resentment I had felt on him. And I thought, that's not fair. Why am I doing that? Why am I, this is the man that I had prayed for, and here he is. And, before when I was single and there wasn't a man in my life, I was doing all these same things, and I never resented anybody because there was nobody there to resent. So I had this sort of epiphany, and this was my problem. It was my crappy attitude that I needed to work on. So, you just gotta kind of take a look, step back, and look at what you do and how you are interpreting things. So that was kind of my answer to myself and how I was contributing to some of my problems. So sometimes the kids and I lovingly and affectionately call Todd the absent-minded professor. This is a man that loses or breaks everything. I mean, really, the only reason he can find his car is because it's in the garage, right? And the only reason he can find his keys is because they're in the car. So Todd, he's one of those people who have one of those electronic type auras, because whenever he walks into a room, sometimes the light bulb's burnt out or a toaster stops working, that kind of stuff. He's always managing to engineer quick fixes too from items he's repurposed from around the house. So maybe that's part of the problem. They're never quite put together anyway. But when he starts a project, I mean, he's good about finishing it and all that stuff, but it's all the chaos in between that is challenging as his wife. And there are times that, he's almost blown up the yard with 20 gallons of old gasoline. He's tried to leave out and evaporate just on its own instead of taking and recycling it. The time that the bottle of spray foam, the kind that you use to fill up gaps in your pipes and all that, it exploded all over him. And if you've ever worked that stuff, it's stickier than molasses. I mean, it's crazy stuff. And he's also a really good barbecuer. I mean, I to call him a master barbecuer is probably pretty close to the mark. But if it weren't for my sous chef abilities, it's a wonder we would ever eat, because he cooks. And when he cooks and uses every pot in the house. And he might start the grill around 6, but we never really eat until 9. And that's because something has distracted him, and he's let the coals burn out. So the kids and I just know, we know this about him. And let's just say my dear sweet husband doesn't multitask very well, and leave it at that. But I've developed some good coping skills to counteract my need for organization and cleanliness. And it may not work for you, but it helps me stay sane. So let me give you an example of what I mean. So the absent-minded professor, just another example. This is kind of him sitting up, putting his feet up after a long, hard day, realizing he's worn 2 different shoes the whole entire day. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And, this is the other type of crazy stuff. He'll put my son in a canoe in the pool because it's too cold outside to go swimming, and I'm just going to let you figure out what might have happened in that situation. Yeah. So, but I have a cute little story. I remember one time I had just finished cleaning the house, and the kitchen was spotless. I had mopped the floors, dishes put away. I mean, it was, Mr. Clean would have kissed me because the house was so spotless. But I think I had left the room for like maybe 5 minutes to go and fold some clothes, and I came back, and the scissors were, I was looking for my scissors, and I looked up, and they were outside on the barbecue getting rusted. I come back in, and there's weeds and dirt, everything all over the floor and counters that I had just cleaned. And I was starting to get pretty hot under the collar, and I was about to put Todd on a spit and barbecue him. And then I remember he came flying in the house, and I turned around about ready to bark at him, and here he had a full vase of fresh cut flowers from the yard he had picked for me. And I'll talk about, you want to talk about feeling like you are 3 inches tall and for getting mad over nothing. So instead of getting mad about my dirty kitchen, I reminded myself that I should be so lucky to have someone here in my life that loves me enough to pick me flowers. When we search to find the love behind the little nuisances, we continue to promote more loving acts. It takes work and imagination to mentally challenge yourself to change your way of thinking if you're always getting ticked off. If you have to be creative and find the humor that's why you have to be creative and find the humor in the mental challenge. Because marriage is just as much mental as it is physical. I think I just got off the slide. I'm sorry about that. All right, so here we are. Marriage is just as much mental as it is physical. All right, so divorce is a great teacher of us. If you're paying attention, you'll learn the lessons. And, not everyone learns from their divorce. That's why they become part of an even greater statistic on the failure rate for second-time marriages, which is 60%. 60% of all remarriages end in divorce. Why? Because we're an all-volunteer army and we didn't learn enough the first time. All right, so for those of you who are mentally challenged in finding the love in the acts that annoy you, I have another method for you. Okay, we're going to get into that here in just a minute. All right. These are the next top 5 lessons that you'll learn after your divorce. This little bit I'm about to go through next is something everyone should sit up and pay attention to. You're probably texting or multitasking right now, so I'm just going to say, as a speaker, I know, and as an attendee to webinars, I know that I start multitasking when I get a little bored with the subject or whatever, but I'm going to ask you to draw your attention back to this and check in, because this is probably the most valuable lesson you can get from this entire webinar. Seriously, this is the part of the webinar that is worth so much that you can't put a price tag on it. The information is so rich, it's like learning the top 5 lessons from a divorce without actually going through one. Wouldn't you like to know? You're like, hey, where were you 6 months ago, Tommy? Thanks a lot. Okay. So my goal is to learn the top 5 lessons from divorce so that you will have a better shot of everlasting love in your next relationship. So have you ever felt that because your marriage failed, you somehow failed? Or that married people just know more about relationships than you do? I'm going to show you how it's actually the other way around, something I kind of alluded to earlier, and that divorced people know far more about relationships than married people do. All right, Yogi Berra, the former Yankees catcher and who passed away recently, and baseball icon, once said, "You don't know what you don't know." There are a lot of things you never really know until you experience it, and divorce is like that. It's the great teacher of life. We learn from our more from our failures than our successes. And first of all, I'd like to say that in order to succeed, sometimes you have to fail. And did you know failure is inevitable in life? Yeah, think about it. When we fail, what do? We dwell on it, we overanalyze it, we obsess over trying to figure out where we went wrong. We try to learn from our mistakes so we don't make them again. But then when we do achieve, we usually do what? We move on to the next thing without ever giving it a second thought. We don't stop to ponder why or how we achieved it. We just know whatever we did worked, and so we kind of keep going. So do you see where I'm going with this? Because most of us didn't ever celebrate the good conflict resolutions in our marriages when we had them. We just moved on to the next thing without learning what we did right. When we fail, we overanalyze and ask the how and why questions repeatedly. And we try to break it down. We reflect and seek perspective. We submerge ourselves in the problem and try to learn from it. Are you with me? Divorced people who have successful remarriages will tell you divorce will make you appreciate the other person in your life more. Okay. So number 2, divorced people who have successful remarriages will tell you divorce will make you more tolerant in your next relationship and your perspective on things will change. And divorced people will know that the best way to fight for love is to fight with love. People who have successful remarriages know that in order to find your soulmate, you must first be in touch with your own soul. And people who have successful remarriages will tell you, or will know that there is always more to learn. All right, so it's time to stop dreaming about how your life would have been different. You divorced for a reason. Now live your real dream and get on with it. It just so happens I happen to know somebody who can help you with that. Me again. So for the last 30 minutes or so, we've been talking about the ways of going through a divorce is difficult and the effects it has on your life. In my master class, How to Get More Out of Your Breakup Than Just Heartache, I show you how to take the lessons divorce has to teach you and use them to enrich your life forever. I spent a year putting this class together for you because I knew how valuable this perspective could be when you are right in the throes of it. And let me tell you, when somebody's giving you a light at the end of the tunnel and helping you walk this path, there's nothing better. So many of you are searching right now and simply need some perspective on things during this difficult time in your life. And so here's what you'll get out of my master class. You'll get 6 modules, 5 great bonuses, and a private Facebook group to support you and lift you up. So in Module 1, this is the closure and divorce process module. And this is the healing module that will help you get closer to closure by giving you the tools you need to get there faster. So we'll go over strategies like getting to indifference, being rejuvenated, and knowing when you've gone full circle with your ex. That's kind of a good chapter there. That's a really liberating one to know where are you on that circle of recovery. And then the ideal divorce, is it an oxymoron? We'll talk about that. Module 2 is this topic is sort of a must-have for anyone going through what you're going through right now. This is the module that will help you get your ducks in a row before you go to court. And if you aren't, you're probably not yourself right now with your memory. It's probably more Teflon than ironclad. And this is not a guide for the legal process, not at all. This is what we cover, the things that you need to protect. Things like you need to protect your kids, your assets, and your environment. And I show you how. And then I also show you how to deal with a manipulative ex, because I got a lot of input on that, and people were suggesting that there was a lot of trouble with their angry ex. So that's a good one. Okay, and then in this third module, this is the module we're going in. This is where I go commando on you and put up your dukes, and we get our faces muddy and camouflage hats on, and we go in. We all know working out is good for you, but it's kind of hard to incorporate it in your everyday life, and I get that, especially when you have kids. But I will show you how. It's not as hard as you think, and how that it is 80% mental, and I'll give you tips for making the mental shift to just do it. I've been a big proponent of physical fitness ever since I was in high school, so long time. And we'll cover how this will help you get better sleep, how you'll start eating right, and just getting in shape in general makes you feel great. So it's all about getting your confidence back at this stage. So the next module is the mental fitness. So you can do anything if you put your mind to it. Heard that one before? I'm sure you have. Well, it's time you heard it again. It's time to turn the mush into muscles. The gray matter part between your ears. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We talk about how you can unearth the contributing factors that ended your relationship. We talk about how to get more laughter in your life to fight stress. We talk about conquering your fears and getting rid of stinking thinking. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, in this module, this is another valuable module, and I give you some of the strategies for getting out from the divorce pickle that you can get squeezed into financially. So, then Live Close to Your Ex is another module that I thought was important, because a lot of problems come out from living in other towns from your ex. So what do you do if your ex moves away? Okay, well, you can't always throw a party or jump for joy, at least until it's time to exchange the kids anyway. Then you're kind of going, oh man. In this module, it gets a little tricky, but I give you some good options for when living close to the ex isn't possible. Okay, and you'll get these great bonuses. As I mentioned, there's a private Facebook group. There's a video list, internet sites, movie lists, and book lists that I have generated and gathered, and you'll get access to all of that. All right, so here we are, and I'm going to, for the next 15 minutes, I'm going to do a, oh boy, did this happen again? Oh my goodness, I got to, bear with me for just a second while I get my slideshow back going. I hate it when this happens. All right, stay with me. Here we are. It does it every time I get to this slide for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, here we are. Let me try it again. Okay, there's my timer. So we have 15 minutes for Q&A, and I guess what I'll do is if you have any questions, you can ask them here in the chat box, and I'll get to them. And let's see, so normally this is a $297 course. So when the timer runs out, when we're out of time here and we're off the webinar, that's the price it'll revert back to. But today, my fast action bonus, you can get this course for $97. And what you get in this course is 19 different lessons, and they're more like kind of therapy sessions with a friend. But the problem is sometimes with friends, they don't always give you the right advice, and it's not knowledgeable, and it's not backed and supported by research that they've done. Or you can go see a therapist that'll cost you, basically $100 a session if your insurance doesn't cover it. So this is about a 6.5-hour course that you can take at your leisure. You have lifetime membership, which means you'll have it for life. And occasionally I jump back in and I update some of the modules. I'm constantly retweaking things and making things, improving them as best I can. So you'll get all the current information. I have several cheat sheets, and I give all my transcripts available to you. I have my slide decks, and just a lot of information here for you to help you learn these lessons so that you're not alone. And the Facebook group is really great because it's a group that you can jump in and feel supported and talk to people going through the similar things that you are, because that's huge. In there you'll find some of your superhero mentors that we talked about. So first question you might want to know is, how do I know if I'm right for your program? And well, let me go through this here. All right, well, let me just ask you, what would it be worth to you to get your inner peace back and become more confident, have a more confident version of you? What would it be worth if you had access to a support system of people going through the same thing as you in the privacy of your own home? And what would it be worth to you if you could start saving money instead of spending all of it, like you have to on all these new expenses? What if you could figure out how to deal with your manipulative ex peacefully, sanely, safely? And what would it be worth to you if you could get a strategy for getting in shape both mentally and physically? And what would it be worth to you if you could learn to simplify your post-divorce life? Well, I know that for some of you, shelling out money for this course right now may be hard, especially since you've lost economies of scale. So that's why I'm offering you this fast action bonus. I did my best to keep this class affordable and give it to you for less than the price of just a single therapy session. So inside this program, as I mentioned, there are 6 modules, and each module drills down into more specific topics. And each one deals with the fallout from divorce or breakup. And it's like having 19 advice sessions at your fingertips. And you can take these on the go too. You can put them in a pod, in your iPod, and listen to them on your phone or whatever, or you can watch them on your computer, whatever you have time for in between breaks at work. I don't know. So, and think about it, therapy's not cheap, plus the gas and the hassle of scheduling appointments, and then there's missed work if you have to schedule around the kids, and oh my God, you've already missed enough work as it is because of court. So, not to mention a missed appointment charge with a therapist, and it's like getting hit with the bill for that is just like the last thing you need. So let's go through some of these more specific about the modules. What exactly am I covering in the modules? Well, in Module 1, this is the module for you if you're stuck. And I'm not promising to have you completely healed overnight, but in this module I give you some good tools and perspective that I think are really going to help you. But in order for this stuff to work, you kind of have to do the stuff I suggest and not make it into shelfware. So, the kind that you buy and you listen to and then you never practice any of the steps. Capiche? You know what I'm talking about? So I remember being right where you are, and if someone had sat me down and told me, I know what you need, take this and call me in the morning, I think I probably would have taken a whole bottle of it. And I was willing to try anything to make the hurt go away. So, my friend, I think I have a pretty good elixir for you. So stay with me. I have 2 simple words that I think you need to kind of keep in mind when you start to feel yourself fall into the funk. And those 2 words are stop it. Okay? Just stop it. It's what my dad used to always say to me. I'd sit here and I'd argue with him about, getting my allowance, Say, Dad, Mom didn't give me my allowance. Well, why should she? You didn't do anything to earn it. That's not true. And I'd fight with him and I'd say, my room's clean. And he'd fold the paper and he'd say, well, we feed you, don't we? Yeah, but Dad, you're supposed to. Well, you're 18. Okay, well, and I'd cry and my dad would say, all right, that's enough. Stop it. And so that, my friend, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's kind of like getting slapped upside the head with a vocal. And so when you feel yourself going down that rabbit hole, stop it. So I'm sorry. I know it's a little harsh, but it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, of course. I'm just joking with you. But in the second module, which is protect, 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 this topic is sort of a must-have for anyone going through what you are going through right now. This is the module that will help you get your ducks in a row before you go to court. Because, let's face it, you aren't yourself right now. All right, so it's not fun to feel like you're plotting against someone you vowed to share your life with, and well, at least not at this stage, right? Because going to court is actually it's suing the person that you married, so that's no fun. So I've been right where you are, and it's pretty much that day is sort of like the day of diarrhea, and I'm helping you get everything together so that you can get through that transition. I'm not going to say the word smoothly. I said it. Okay. So, just kind of moving the needle forward. These times of indecision, a good perspective from someone objectively is what you need. And it is my recommendation to at least start the processes I'm putting in place for you here in this module. It'll give you strength when you feel let down or defeated. When you take a proactive approach to this stuff, you will up your game, and nothing your ex does will seem like they're going to get the best of you. So when you have a plan and you are moving it forward, it gives you remarkable strength, and there's total value in that. It's hard to know your spouse during a divorce because people do strange things. So my advice to you is don't be strange, just be estranged. Keep your head on, stay calm, and think strategic. All right, so the next module, 3 again, I kind of go through these in a little bit more detail, is the one on physical fitness. And, this is the module where we get a little bit commando and start calling out the boot camp stuff, and getting the workout and making it all good for you. It's hard to incorporate in your everyday life, but it can be done. I did it, and I had 2 kids. We went to the gym, we, dressed there, we lived at the gym. I show you how to make the gym affordable and how to pay it for itself. I mean, when you're living at the gym, you're getting your money's worth. You're showering there, the kids are eating there, your your daycare is there. You can make it work for you, and the results are amazing. And it used to be something my kids looked forward to. They loved going to the gym because it had a great kids play area. So it helped them motivate them. It was a motivator to getting their homework done. So that's really good stuff. So the bottom line message in that module here is that and what I want to preach to you most is that something my mother always used to say to me: if you don't take care of yourself, who will? Your kids need you to be strong and healthy for them. They need you to laugh again and play with them. This is a module that focuses on your physical well-being so you can tackle this thing called life. All right, so in Module 4, this is the mental fitness module. And this is a module that I can't stress enough the importance of reading and getting educated about healing and ending, relationships and going through the grieving process. So we talk about joining groups because groups hold us accountable and help us achieve our goals. And so that's why the Facebook group is really important too. So we talk about conquering our fears and getting rid of stinking thinking and how what you meditate about comes about. All right, so in the 5th module, it's all about finances. And after my bankruptcy, I learned how to stretch a dollar. What? Wait, back the truck up. Did you just say bankruptcy? Yes, I had a BK. We'll make it a little bit more palatable to say BK. I learned how to live on cash, and I got really good at budgeting and saving. And, later I had 2 homes and did pretty well. So you can too, because I'm telling you, it's all just about having cash in pocket and saving and knowing what's a true need and what's a true want. So. All right, so we go through some of that stuff. In the last module about living close to your ex, this is the one that is kind of, it's good and bad stuff, You don't want your ex to be too close, but you don't want to be too far either because it is a logistics nightmare. I remember several times on Sunday nights, the kids had forgotten their backpacks at their dad's when we were making the transition and needed it for school, and oh my gosh, there we were going all the way across town again. And if you live out of town, hello, crazy stuff. And you're on the road all the time. So if you want to simplify your life, live close to the ex. So not always possible. And so we have some strategies for when that's not always the case as well. All right. So how do I know if if this course is right for me? Well, if you can shoot an arrow through any of these issues that I'm going to describe, then this might be a class for you. So is your middle name alimony? Do you want your kids more? Do you lay awake at night wondering, how do I get through this and when will it end? Do you ask yourself why and how more than 10 times a day? Why did this happen? How did this happen? Does your ex take advantage of you? Do you need help changing your life? So if you've answered any of those, yeah, then this is probably a pretty good course for you, and it's a pretty darn good bargain too. So we have about 2-3 more minutes left, and let me see if I have any more questions coming in. Let me take a quick look. Oh, I think somebody asked me what is my refund policy. So we have a 30-day money-back guarantee, and no questions asked. I do kind of like to get a little feedback from you. If you are going to get a refund, I'd like to know what you struggle with the most and why this program didn't help you so that I can improve it. So that's the only reason why I really ask for that. Okay, so do you offer a payment plan? Yes, I do, but not on the Fast Action Bonus. On the Fast Action Bonus, it's the flat $97. But after the ticker goes off, and when we, for as long as we're on the webinar, you can get it for $97. But after the webinar ends, I have the course is $297, and you could do a 6-month payment plan for $57 a month. So this is a really good bargain if you can get it today. And I understand. I really want to work with you to get this program into you because I think it's so valuable. And you get lifetime access. I mentioned that. Somebody asked. What else do I need to buy to see results from your program? Well, maybe a gym membership. That might be the only other thing that I can think of. Maybe some books on divorce recovery. So, but a lot of stuff, you can get Amazon Prime and download a lot of this stuff, or even get it for free. Sometimes they offer some good free book of the month clubs. Let's see. Will I be able to ask you questions if I get stuck? Yeah. You can always write to me at tomi@livewelldivorce.com. And also, I chime in on that Facebook group sometimes. And if you're thinking about joining, and I probably should have explained this sooner, you can go down this yellow bar, click on the How to Get More Out of Your Breakup .com/join. Click on that, and it'll take you to the sign up page, and you'll see the short version of my sale page, and you can just click on the $97 sign up button, and it'll walk you through that process. And then I have some videos that walk you through where to get started. So there you go. I think I've answered all the questions, and we are just about out of time. I'd love to hear feedback from you. I love comments. I love email. So please feel free to email me. And it's been a lot of fun today, you guys. I really appreciate you. I know you will get through this. Your lives will improve overnight. I'm telling you, just by being a student of this stuff, it really, really, really helps you heal faster. All right, everyone, I think we're out of time. I've enjoyed my time with you, and look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to find me at the livewelldivorce.com website. I have a lot of good stuff there, some podcasts, and a newsletter you can join as well. All right, look for my articles too, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.